how can we be using data science or machine learning to be identifying illegal activities?
It's a really good question. And I think this is where the domain of machine learning and data science in blockchain is particularly exciting. One example might be that there might be tells on what a certain type of illicit address or type of illicit category looks like. And I guess a better example is, so we talked about ransomware. There are many, many different ransomware bad actors. And what they do is they create a strain of ransomware. And I'll give you an example of one. One is called Conti. That is one of the biggest ransomware strains right now. Another one that you might have heard of is called DarkSide, and that is the ransomware strain that was behind the Colonial Pipeline attack in
Mm-hmm.
2021,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of got the Biden administration all paying attention to ransomware and saying, "Hey, ransomware is on par with terrorism."
Mm-hmm.
And but these different ransomware gangs, they hold their cryptocurrency and they manage it in specific ways. So maybe they will manage their transactions after they receive a ransom in a very specific way. So this does present an opportunity to scan the blockchain for based on behaviors, based on properties, based on all of this data that has more information than you might realize. So the time of day of the transaction is something that we use sometimes, the frequency of the transaction, and all of these things that you can create kind of a list of properties and then say, hey, what else fits this criteria? Now that is great for research, wouldn't fit the bar of gaining attribution at Chainalysis, but because we need to be 100% on our attributions because they're used in real life investigations that kind of sometimes might put someone in jail. So, but it still is really an interesting domain to if you have like a test and training data set, you can see how close you can get to
Mm-hmm.
identifying ransomware. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you kind of perfect that, the cool thing about that is you can apply it across everything, right? And then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden and the last thing I'll say on this is one of the cooler things that we did in the crime report was that was kind of more data sciencey was we looked at all of the deposit addresses on exchanges that were receiving illicit funds in a given year. And I think this speaks to the power of the blockchain that, Philip and Sadie were talking to in the past, and which is that I could write a query and immediately find all of the off ramps that are responsible for moving those funds. And I think that's extremely powerful if you're interested in crime prevention,
Mm-hmm.
proactive being more proactive with data. It's really interesting to see law enforcement, like, who you might not have as like in your mind as being, the ones at the crime scene as being very like into the mechanics of data, but they're really leaning into these kind of more proactive techniques.